Hey everybody, thank you for joining me on Landscape Rescue. I'm Stuart Moore, and thank you very much for letting me into your home to talk about plants. All right, thanks for sticking with me. So here are the hostas that I planted. Now again, when I planted them last year, they were a transplant. So I did the same thing spring of last year to get these to all their glory. Now, I might have been in a little bit of rush. I might not have separated them as much as I would have liked to.
For heaven's sake, said no one in particular, tell us about laziness.
But if I remember right, it was a pretty sunny day. And those aren't days when I like to do a lot of transplanting. I love to do transplanting on days like today. Overcast, rain in the forecast. That's ideal because, okay, so let's think of the leaf as the power plant of the entire system, right? But it needs some personnel and it needs some support in order to generate the income that the plant needs. They're going to produce simple sugar through photosynthesis, and they're going to use that sugar to feed its employees or to pay its employees, right? That's what the paychecks in the plant world consist of, is sugar.
Sugar. Give me sugar.
Whenever you cause damage to a root, you're essentially destroying the support system for the leaves, which is the powerhouse for the plant. So it's going to want to reestablish its roots because its root mass is based on how much top mass it needs to support. So sometimes, and I know this is going to be relatively vague.
Why are you so vague, bro?
Sometimes, if it's hot, especially later on in the summer, sometimes when you transplant something, I like to cut things back because I'm reducing the top mass that the root mass has to support, and I've just compromised the root mass, so there's less roots, there's less water and nutrients going up into those leaves, and then I let the plant or the company, plants are a company, reestablish what market share it wants to take advantage of, right? Based on its support structure. I know that sounds a little, it coming out of my mouth, it sounds complicated. So I can just imagine.
This is too complicated. I'm out of here.
So I'm going to dig around. I'm going to try to get as many roots as possible. Now I'm going to leave this back row here. All right, let's start digging this bad boy up. All right, I think it's ready to pop it out of the ground. I'm just going to throw it on the driveway, and that way I can just rinse everything off. My wheelbarrow is over at Affinity Estates.
Well, that was dumb.
So I was going to throw this in the wheelbarrow and wash it really good. So we're just going to do it on the driveway because it's a driveway. It can't grow anything, so I don't care about it. Oh, big boy.
But you know I'm still hungry.
Wow. All right. So look at the size of some of these stalks. So I'm going to try to take and separate and get about this much, if you can see that. This is probably what I'm going after.
Well, you can wish in one hand and crap in the other.
When I'm doing my separating, you know, big chunks like that. So if you can see how they kind of have that fan shape, that would be one plant. If it's going to take a lot of work to just separate that, I'll just do two, you know, and then that one would be just a little bit bigger. But remember, for every time you take one of these out, you just saved yourself 10 bucks. Growing your own perennials, huge money saver.
Huge amounts of money.
A huge fan of your mother. I don't know, you know, your mother.
Huge amount of money.
Because I can use these perennials to go do other projects. Affinity Estates has tons of shade and they need more mass. So in my head I was thinking, well, I've got a ton of hostas that have just been sitting over here on steroids.
Me. I have the power!
And I'm going to take a flat shovel and scoop all this stuff back into that hole. that giant hole that I left. But so don't think I'm just gonna, all joking aside, I don't want to get yelled at by the missus because I tore up the mud on the driveway. So and now I just rinse the, and it's just a process, you know. And now the fun part. I like to dig my thumb just kind of in the middle there, kind of start feeling for some separation. Somebody's hung up in here and I can't figure. And I always felt like it was just better if I did it with my hand than if I did with a shovel. Okay, so I broke free there. Oh, see how less damage I'm doing than if I was using a machete? All right, so that's about half of the plant there. And now I've got to figure out a plan of attack to get some of these separated. So I like to work in halves. So half the root ball, then I go and try to do it again in half. So getting somewhat of a plan of attack. But usually it ends up just half of this, half of that. Halves of the halves, halves of the halves. And if I feel like I'm going to do too much damage, then a lot of times I'll just plant them how they are and be cool with just saving 20 bucks instead of 100. But let's see what I can do here. I'm going to just go in here and I'm going to cut these two in half because see that was holding both of these plants together, and now I get a good clean separation. See? So this right here was holding these two, that root mass was holding these two together like that, and it wasn't allowing me to pull it apart. So if I just pulled that apart, then I could And any damaged leaves, just cut them off. They'll regrow.
But I appreciate the gesture.
Am I crazy?
All right, so there is one plant. I would like to separate these two. See that? See these two? I would like to separate those, but I'm not going to risk it. Just going to leave that, 2 years from now I can separate these. So there's one. And if you don't have the time and you just want to, separate them with the shovel, do that. My mom was a big fan of that. She was ruthless. Yeah, so we're going to leave that as one also. So maybe not get as many as I thought, but... Now, obviously, I would never, ever do anything like this on a homeowner's driveway. I would have my wheelbarrow, clearly. They're not wanting to separate for me. Oh, geez Louise. All right. There's one. Or I guess that's number 3. And we'll just make this number 4. So I got 4 hostas from one hosta. And this hosta was free because I got about 30 hostas out of the 2 hostas that were sitting over on either side of the door when I first moved in. These don't really have a whole lot of character to the leaf, but they're going to add some nice texture to an area that's just nothing but mulch and pin oak acorns. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to have some nice hostas underneath there. So one of the things that ended up happening is I got a lot of little pieces like this. So see, they don't have a whole lot of roots on them, but they do have roots. So I reduced the top mass and tried to leave, one leaf for it to sustain that one leaf. Now, this could completely die. This just might not be enough roots to take care of the business, but we'll see. It was free, right? Some of the other ones, there was a lot of roots, but in the process of pulling these out, because they were in the ground pretty good, which astounds me. The only thing that I can say is it had enough nutrition, it had enough biological activity in the grounds that the root system just hyper developed. I don't even know if that's a thing. I might have just invented a thing. There's a good one, and these were just so banged up they were going to fall over anyway. So I just cut them. This will be a fun experiment because I've got some that have some leaf growth that I got out, and I'm hoping I can keep all of those, all that leaves. I'm probably going to have to trim some of them. I see some of them that are just sliced up. But let's do a fun experiment and see, how these, when these kind of show up to the party this year, if at all. And which I've done this before. It's fine. But yeah, I've got some with plenty of roots, very little top growth. That's a good, that's a good candidate for a nice free hosta to plant at a place that needs a lot of mass. It needs a lot of plants. So there you go. There's the haul after 3 of the hostas I separated. So I think I'm probably going to go down there and try to plant them before the rain starts. All right. See you there.